Do miracles happen? Yes. Well, this is Arabella, and this is her story. Another beautiful, gorgeous day down under in Australia. And Zara, one of our mares, lay down to have her first foal. You can see the two legs, nostrils, and mouth. We did have to pull. Melinda, who helps us on the farm, she pulled for about 3 or 4 minutes just to help Zara. And then we were just amazed and just so happy to see that we had a beautiful little filly. And yep, there you go, love at first sight. Zara was obviously happy, and we were. But then we suddenly realised, within a couple of hours that we may have a problem. She was really struggling to stand up. Normally within 2 hours, they're up and running around. So we came to the rescue by helping her up, and we used to wrap a towel around her, hold her up so she could just get her balance a little bit, as you can see from her legs there. And then we put her into the stables because we thought she's a bit safer in there with a better bedding. Even after 4 or 5 hours, she was very weak, not able to stand on her own. Or get up on her own, I should say. She spent most of her time just lying down, which is, yes, they need to sleep, but she was 80% of the time lying asleep on the ground, and it didn't look quite right. So we called the vet. So Dr. Matt came, and we gave her a couple of enemas to help clean out her system and also give her some pain relief. We were worried that maybe she had some kind of inflammation of the joints. That's why she was struggling to get up. But the main thing was that she was unable to stand. So we're looking at in the evening now, and she still wasn't able to balance herself or even to get up, which was a real worry. So we watched on the security cameras from the house, just her trying to stand. She was a real little fighter, but she just could not stand up on her own. So every couple of hours I would come in and help her up, just so that she could get some milk, which was so important these first couple of days. You can see she just was unable to stand, so literally had to lift her up every single time. The next morning, she was still extremely weak, still unable to get up. We decided to give her another enema based on Dr. Matt's directions, and he was just a phone call away just if things went wrong. So we gave her another enema and helped her to her feet. But, I have to admit, it's just so amazing that she allowed us to do so much to her. She'd been injected, she'd been things stuck up her bottom. She just lay there and just so a brave little girl. And her mum, bless Zara, she just knew that we were there to help. All we could do now was, we had the best vets in the world. And the other thing was pray, which is so important. So we had everybody around the world, all our friends and family, praying for this little girl, that she would survive this. We were just throwing everything at her. It was heartbreaking just to watch her on the cameras, hour upon hour, just rolling. We would go in and help her up, and then as soon as we went back to the farm, we'd look on our iPhones and she'd be rolling again, trying to get up. We moved her as well into the paddock because the sun had come out, and I think she enjoyed the vitamin D, but she just lay there, and it was heartbreaking. So we ended up calling Dr. Matt back because we knew that really things were not going well. He actually couldn't do much more, but he decided that the best course of action was to get her to an equine hospital, and the nearest one was 2 to 3 hours away in Beaudesert. And because of lockdown, it's in another state, we were really unable to get there. He was trying to find a transport company that would take the little filly and the mum, but no one could take her that night. He was worried that she probably wouldn't survive the night. It was so difficult. We just had to pray that she would get through that night so that we could transport her to the hospital the following morning, the following afternoon. At the end of the day, she had so much wrong with her, but they were worried about oxygen to the brain. There's her lack of focus, septus of the joints, colic, something not quite right with her neck. It wasn't just one thing or two things, it was several things that she was trying to cope with. So it was really sad and heartbreaking because we had gone down every avenue. The next thing really was just to get her to the hospital in the morning and wait and see what that would bring. I went back to the house after the vets had gone and Melinda had gone, and I was just so exhausted after 3 days, and just overwhelmed with emotions, and I just sat at the kitchen table and cried, and I spoke to Jeff and I spoke to a friend, Kate, and I just couldn't stop crying. I just felt absolutely hopeless. I didn't know what else I could do to help this little foal. It was like we'd run out of all options. I went back every couple of hours. Then I would go back to bed, and I remember I used to sit on the edge of the bed, so I sat on the edge of the bed, and I'd actually got to the point where I think it was 11 o'clock at night, I was unable to cry anymore. I was unable to pray anymore. It's very rare that I can stop praying, but I couldn't pray. I just felt like I'd fallen into a bottomless pit. I didn't want to think. I just felt numb all over. And it was just very strange. I had this thought suddenly to pick up this book that I hadn't read for a year. It was a morning and evening devotional book, and by Spurgeon, who's a very old theologian, an amazing man of God. And I picked up the book and I opened it to the 28th of September, and it was like God was speaking to me. It was like God had walked into the room, and these words just hit me, and I just knew that everything was going to be okay. Go again. And I read these words 7 times. Wow. Success is certain when the Lord has promised it. Although you may have pleaded month after month without evidence of answer, it is not possible that the Lord should be deaf when his people are earnest in a matter which concerns his glory. And it goes on to talk about the importance of prayer and not giving up, that he listens to every single word that we say. And I just knew that he had planted this message in my heart, and that I had to get back up off my bottom, off the bed, go back to the stables and pray, because he was listening, and now he'd given me hope. I just knew that everything was going to be okay. I knew it in my heart already. I knew he'd answered all those prayers from me and all my friends and all those people around the world that have been praying for this little filly. And I went back to the stables. I went back and I prayed for her. So I went back to the stables and I put hands on her and I prayed for her and I prayed, and I just knew God had answered. And I thought, well, I'd tickle her bottom, and she stood up. I didn't have to lift her up. She just stood up, and then she went directly for the milk. Normally we had to point her in the right direction. She normally went towards the wall, but this time, no, she practically stood up on her own and she went across. And I was like, am I dreaming this? Is this really real? I think I just stood there rather in bewilderment. I was tired and emotional, but in that moment, I just felt God had answered. And also that there was this like orange glow around the stable. I just really felt God's glory just in that time and in that stable. And I left them. I went back, and I just went back to sit on the edge of the bed and thank the Lord for what had just happened. I just couldn't believe it. I set my alarm again to go back, and I went back a couple of hours later, and she was up on her own. She was standing up, and she was inquisitive. She was munching at the wall, as you do, and she was, quite lively and perky, and I was like, she looks fine. And sorry, she's out of shot here. I moved the camera because she was sleeping in that corner. And I don't know how long, I just sat or crouched down for about 45 minutes and watched in bewilderment. I knew God had answered, just like that, in a twinkling of an eye. He'd answered all our prayers. And I went back to bed knowing that I didn't have to set the alarm. I just knew that she would be okay. The next morning, we took the decision just to open up the stable door and let her out into the enclosed paddock and just wait and see what happened. In my heart, I believed she was healed. I couldn't believe about the night before and all that had happened. But I just knew that she would be okay. And this is what came out of the stable. We could not believe the change in this little foal. It was beyond a miracle. We sent that video that I've just shown to Dr. Matt, and he was, I'd say, knocked sideways. He couldn't quite believe that was the same foal. Wow. And we called her Arabella. And I had no idea what the name meant. I just felt that Arabella was a strong name and it would suit her down to the ground. And Arabella means God answered. And the second meaning is yield to prayer. How amazing is that?
She's a pretty girl. She's a pretty girl. Yes, you are. You are stunning. Yes, yes. Happy. Hey. Hey, beautiful. Yes, we're teething. Yes, we're teething. Yes, we're happy. Yes, we're really happy.
Don't, whatever you do, stop praying. When you get to the point when you can't pray anymore and you don't think God is going to answer, then that's the time when you want to get on your knees and pray even harder. God is a good God. Everything is possible with Jesus.